Good morning. This is Anna Patterson with the North Carolina Housing Coalition. Thank you for joining us this morning for our housing call. And without further ado, I will turn it over to our Director of Housing Policy, Stephanie Watkins-Cruz.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are having a great week so far. Just want to go ahead and kick it off with organizational updates. I saw a lot of you last week. The 2024 North Carolina Affordable Housing Conference was amazing. We saw record-breaking attendance. So there was more than 1,300 housing professionals coming together, and that's what makes it such a wonderful event for the state. We appreciate each and every one of you for sharing in our commitment to furthering affordable housing in North Carolina. And if you are still coming down from the excitement and you feel like marking your calendars for 2025, our conference next year will be on September 30th and October 1st. If you were in attendance, please make sure to take a few minutes and complete a short survey that we'll have linked in the call notes that will help us continue to improve and make this conference great. Moving on to federal updates. Congress returns to D.C. to negotiate a continuing resolution by the September 30th deadline, so they just got back this week. They've returned from their August recess, and they're working to pass a CR by the end of the month, and this is in order to keep key federal programs funded past the end of the current federal fiscal year, which ends on September 30th. Since it's an election year, a CR is expected to pass before a shutdown occurs, because they don't want that bad press. The duration of the CR and what it will mean for housing programs, though, still remains to be determined. The Department of Housing and Urban Development recently announced new rules designed to help public housing authorities to improve the utilization of mainstream vouchers to help people with disabilities transition from and avoid institutional settings. Some of the key significant changes in these rules include the minimum search period before an extension must be requested will be doubled. So it started at 60 days and now it will be 120 days. Housing authorities can adopt a separate mainstream voucher waiting list for people with disabilities in order to reduce the burden of identifying eligible applicants. And housing authorities will be able to adopt admissions preferences that prioritize direct referrals from healthcare and disability agencies that support community living, so long as the referral source is not serving only one specific disability type. Yesterday, HUD also published the 2025 Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Difficult to Develop Areas, or DDAs, and Qualified Census Tracts, QCTs, criteria in the Federal Register. Projects constructed in these areas will receive a 30% basis boost in projects. Once HUD releases an official list of these DDAs and QCTs, we'll make sure to share that with you. Moving to state and local updates. So the North Carolina Senate yesterday had several overrides. One in particular that we will highlight is the governor's veto, is the Senate's veto override of House Bill 556. This was overridden in the Senate yesterday morning, and a few weeks ago it was overridden by the House. House Bill 556 is titled Tenancy in Common / e-Notary / Small Claims Changes. And one thing that is of particular note to mention is that it explicitly prohibits counties and cities from enacting source of income protections, aside from a few key exceptions. So if projects have public funding, CDBG dollars, things of that nature, then that is allowed. But unfortunately, this bill will now become law. Wake County offers nearly $1.4 million for home repairs for low-income homeowners. Now, qualifying homeowners in Wake County can get up to $90,000 to address urgent repairs that threaten the safety and stability of their homes. This major repair program is a pilot that is available to low-income homeowners, no matter their age, on a first-come, first-served basis. And at least 15 homeowners will be able to benefit from the $1.35 million allocated by the Wake County Board of Commissioners. This program in particular was created to assist longtime homeowners who may be at risk of displacement because they cannot afford needed repairs to their homes. Qualifying homeowners may receive deferred 0% interest loans of up to $90,000, and this includes closing costs and testing fees, and they are forgivable over a 10-year term. borrowers that sell their homes or otherwise stop living in the home as their primary residence during the life of the loan will repay the outstanding balance to the county. We'll include a link in the call notes for you to check out more information on eligibility and how to apply. But this is a great example of a stabilizing measure, a stabilizing type of solution. Moving to the East Coast, Wilmington City Council approves $4 million for a new affordable housing development. Last week, City Council approved a $4 million loan that included $3.15 million in gap financing for the Avenue Flats project, which will be a 100% workforce housing development for residents earning between 30% and 80% of area median income. So financing from the city was made possible in part through the city's 1 cent property tax fund for affordable housing. Canopy MLS is a new tool that puts homeownership within reach for more North Carolinians, or at least that is their goal. This real estate database system for 23 North Carolina counties in the western part of the state, and also including Charlotte, recently opted into using the down payment resource feature, which is a free tool that maintains a centralized database of every down payment assistance program in the U.S. And so eligible buyers will be able to use this feature to see easily which listings might be eligible for assistance in particular. Also in the West Coast, after a year of analysis, research, and community engagement, the final draft of the 2024 Affordable Housing Plan for the City of Asheville is now complete and available to the public. So if you'd like to check it out, we have the link in the call notes. There are several events and different reports that I'd like to lift up. And there's going to be an update on the State of the Nation's Housing Report by the Joint Center of Housing Studies of Harvard University on September 13th, so that's this Friday at 12:15. The webinar, but registration is required. Next week on September 20th, there's another webinar also hosted by the Joint Center for Housing Studies talking about how to help middle-income renters and the different trade-offs and costs in doing so. The APA, American Planning Association North Carolina Fall Conference, will be taking place on October 16th through the 18th in Greenville, North Carolina. And then the Hope, North Carolina 2024 Inclusive Housing Summit will be taking place on November 4th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Friday Center in Chapel Hill. Registration costs $50 for individuals and $100 for professionals. The link to all of these events and registering for them are in the call notes. Moving on to resources. Yesterday, the Federal Housing Administration unveiled an online tool that used existing information to estimate county-level damages and mortgage loan concentrations in disaster-prone areas. The Federal Housing Finance Agency is using this to be able to identify U.S. communities most vulnerable to natural hazards. There's also another piece coming from the Department of Housing and Urban Development that is a workbook for units of general local government looking through ways to build consensus and trust. Another piece that I want to highlight that relates to some of the events happening across the state, the Joint Center for Housing Studies of Harvard University also has a report on catalyzing a movement to produce greater public, private, and civil resources to improve housing conditions through home repair programs. So I just think it's really timely that this report is coming out, and we're seeing a lot of public-private partnerships happening, not only for the development of new affordable housing, but also for the preservation of housing. In the news, I just want to list up two pieces. There is a new poll that offers a glimpse of how independent voters are leaning in our swing state, right, of North Carolina. So that's from Newsline. And then CoStar has an interesting piece on how federal home loan banks are pushing back against increases to affordable housing grants. That's all we have for you today. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Again, it was great seeing so many of you and meeting so many new people last week. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything or you'd like us to cover something in particular, and we'll talk to you next time.